You are welcome to my channel. In this video, we would like to solve a problem involved in screw fasteners. We'll be taking a look at nut and bolt assembly, right? We want to see what a nut and a bolt actually do because we call them fasteners and they are used to join two or more components together, right? And we use them especially when we want to do a temporary installation of any kind of maybe machine part or component. Now the problem goes like this. It says two pieces of material, each 50 millimeter thick, are to be secured together by an M16 hexagonal bolt and nut. Draw a sectional view of the assembly, right? Draw a sectional view of the assembly. The nominal length of the bolt is to be 120 millimeter. The thread length is to be calculated and a plain washer is to be used under the nut. So in this assembly here, we have two components that is forming together and they are 50 millimeter thick. So what I'm going to do, I'll first of all draw those components out that are 50 millimeter thick. I'm going to take my T-square, right? And I will draw an horizontal line this way, first of all. You can see that. And I'm also going to draw also a vertical line anywhere of my choice. Faint line. Anywhere of my choice, you draw a vertical line. Let me say I'm choosing here. Now the reason is for me to be able to measure. It says 50 millimeter thick, two different components, making 100 millimeter, right? So I'll take my meter rule, the components distance, both of them is to be what? 100. So if I place it this way, this is from 10 to 0 is 100, right? And half of it is what? 50. So that is the distance of my component. So I'll just draw two lines that are coming in this way. First and what? And second. That's okay now. So from here to here is component A. From here to here is component B. They are assembled together. Since we don't know the extent at which they are what? They are connected. What I'm going to do, we might just to show that, just draw a line like something like this. Since we don't know how their height is, we just assume that, and since the height is not given, so I place them at different heights just to show that there are two different components, right? So I'll do the same thing here also. I'll do the same thing here also. Is that okay? So now I'm using faint line first of all because of we are still on it. Now I say both of them, these two components, component A, let me call it to be component A, and I'll call it to be what? Component B. So this line is separating both of them, right? And they are joined together with a bolt and a nut of M16. Now if you look at my horizontal line here, I'm going to just, at this end point here, I'll draw a line this way, a vertical line with the help of my T-square and set square. At this point, I'll just draw a line this way and I will tell you why I am doing that. Now I need to draw an hexagon across flat using this point as my what? My center. You can see that? Now when I do that, we say it is what? M16, if I'm not mistaken. We are giving it to be what? What? M16, right? So what I'm going to do here is, for you to get the diameter of the head of the nut of the bolt, I need to multiply it by what? By 1.5. So we're going to multiply 16 multiplied by what? 1.5 in order to get the diameter of this. And that is going to give us what? 24, right? So I'm going to measure 24 on my meter rule this way, from this point I'll take half of 24, and that will be 12. So this is 6, this 12 here. You can see that. And I'll place it at the center point here. You can see that at that center point there. And I'm going to draw a circle, faint line. You can see the circle. Now the next thing is, doing that, I need to draw an hexagon across flat here. And if you don't know how to draw an hexagon across flat, you can click on this link on the top right corner of the screen in order to understand how to draw an hexagon across flat. Now aside that, I'll be constructing it here. You're going to use your set square. This is your set square, right? You use the 30-degree side of the set square, right? Ensure that it is moving on the T-square, and you move it until it is tangential to the sides of what? Of my circle. You now draw. You can see that. I'll come here also. I'll do the same thing. You must use faint line. I'll come here too. I'll do the same thing too from here. I'll draw a faint line. I'll stop there. I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to do the same thing too. I'm going to do the same thing here. Move it until it is tangential to the edge of my. You can see that. I'll come here too. I'll do the same thing too, ensuring that it is tangential to it this way. You can see that. Now I will now stand it. Since I know exactly where I'm heading to, it must be tangential to the circumference of my circle. So from here to here, I'm going to take in it. You can see that. I'll come here also. From here to here, I'm going to take in it. You can see that. Then I'll do the rest. I'll take it from this point to this point, and also from this point to this point. Then I'll turn it this way too. I'll also take in from here to here. You can see that. Let's complete here too. Now successfully drawn out the hexagon across what? Across flat, right? Now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to project all the edge, including the circumference of the circle. I'll project them down, right? So when I do that, I'll be having this way. So let's take this down first, everything. So first of all, I'll take this down. You can see that. I'll go to the next one too, which is the circumference of the circle. I'll take it down. I'll move to the other edge here. You can see that. I'll take it down. I'll come to this edge also. I'll take it down. I'll come to this edge, right? I'll take it down. Come here too. I'll take it down. Now you can see that I've projected all those points down. Now the next thing I'm going to do is this. I want to draw the cap of my boat. The cap of my boat. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply it by 0.7, right? The M, we are talking about M16. M16 means the diameter is what? 16. So I'm going to multiply that 16 by what? By 0.7 in order to get the thickness of what? Of the cap, right? So what I'm going to do is, if I multiply 16 times 0.7, I'm having 11.2. So I'm going to measure 11.2, taking this as my reference point here. 11.2, right? This is 10, 11.2 somewhere around here. You can see that. And I'm going to draw a line this way, closing it up. You can see. So I'm focusing more on this part and this part here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to pick my compass, right? From the center here. Is that again? From the center here. I'm in the center of this line, which is from this point here. I'll place my compass at that point. Then I'll take it to the line of the circle. Now if you look closely, this is the line of the circle here. So I'll place my compass at that line there. Right? So if I do that, you can see that. So I'll now draw a semicircle. Faint line, whatever you're doing, faint line. That is my semicircle. Then where it meets the center line at this point, I'll draw another one again from that point. Right? I'll now draw another semicircle that will cut it this way. You can see that. So I'll call this point here, let's say it's a point P. I'll call here where it intersects to be what? P1. I'll call here where it intersects again, I'll call it what? P2. Is that okay? So from P1 here, and then I'll call this point 2, another point, let me call it P3. So from P3 here, I'm going to take my compass to the top of the line I measured, 11.2, right? And I'll draw a semicircle, like an arc, that will be tangential to the top of the line. I'll taking it this way. You can see that. After that, I'm going to come to P here, P2. I'm going to do the same thing too. Move my compass to that point and draw a line tangential to it in this manner, so it will be tangential to the top of the cap this way. You can see that, tangential to the top. I'll come to P1 also. I'll do the same thing. Ensure that it's touching the tangential towards the top. You can see that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use, since I used 30 degree here to draw this arc, then I'm going to stand my set square at an angle of what? 60 degree, in order to draw, they call it a chamfer. Now I draw the arc to touch the circle. Now I'll not chamfer it from the end of the circle here, this arc here. I'll chamfer it to touch the last line. They call it what? Chamfer. You can see that. I'll turn it this way around again. I'll do the same thing too from that point. I'm going to chamfer it. You can see that. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure, because it's a washer head, so I'm going to measure 1 millimeter from this baseline up here, right? 1 millimeter here, which is 1 millimeter here. You can see that. And I will now target the circumference line, the circle circumference line. You can see that. And I'm going to thicken it in between both of them. From this 1 millimeter here, I'll thicken it to the other end here. You can see that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to extend it from this point. So I will extend it from here. Then the other one will just be from the circle depth to the other point here. And I'll close it up from this to this, then this, straight down to this, then this to this, then this I'll close here up to, and here too. And at the top, I'll close here up. Just draw a line at the top here this way. You can see that. Now, the next thing I'll do, I've already drawn the cap of the nut of the boat. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is this. From the question, the length given is 120. So from this place here, I'm going to measure 120 down. So let me measure the 120. That will be from 0 to 120 here. This is from this line, 0, right, to 120. So this is the 120 here. That is the length, how long my boat will look. So I'm going to just draw a line at that point, this way. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to draw the diameter of the circle, which is the diameter as the boat, right? So that will be 24. So I'll just gauge it from here. You can see that from here. I'll gauge it straight down from that point. So the diameter there is given as what? As 16. You know, we are writing M16. So you are going to measure 16 from the center. That means 8 up, 8 down. So if I do that, that will be the help. I'll use with the help of my rule. I'll measure 8 on my meter rule this way. This is 8. Right? And I'll place it at the center here. I'll mark 8 to the left, 8 to the bottom, to the top and the bottom. And I'm going to draw that line downward to meet this line. So from there, I'll draw this from here, downward to meet this. And I'll also draw the other one too, downward to what? To meet this. Is that okay? Now, what we can see here is that I'm going to draw 45 degree, as in multiply the 16 times 0.1 in order to get the thickness from the thread in here, from the base of the knot, right? So if you multiply 1.6, as in 16 times 0.1, I'll be having 1.6. So I'm going to measure 1.6 from the base here, right? 1.6 for the base here. This is 1.6 will be somewhere around here. Let's say from here. Then I'll take my 45 degrees set square. Right? Don't forget this is the line that we're using. So I'll take my 45 degrees set square and I'll place it on my T-square. I'm going to measure that 1.6. Right? Let's do that again. 1.6. This is 0. This is 1.6. This is almost 2 here. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'll just take my 45 degrees, or at an angle of what, 45, and I'll draw this. Right? I'll do the same thing too from here. 45 degree, and I'll draw this. Or you just measure from this point here. Measure from that point the other side, and you measure 45 degree from that point. And you close it up this way. You can see that. You can also close it up too. You can see that. Now, the next thing we are going to do is this. Now, we are to fasten this knot together. We know what is called what? A bolt. We have drawn the bolt. This is what the knot now that we want to draw. So what we are going to do is we need a washer in between, according to the question, right? The question is telling us that we have a washer there. So the washer, for we to add, put a washer here, we need to multiply it by what? 0.2 times the diameter, right? That will be the washer. So if we move forward here, this is what we'll do. We'll take our meter rule and we'll measure 0.2 times what? 16. And that's giving me 3.2. So from the base here, I'm going to measure 3.2. Let me start from 0, right? This is 0 here. This is 1, 2, 3.2, somewhere around here. So that level will be where my washer is going to be. So I'll just place it at that point. Draw a line first of all. So this is how my washer will look, depending on how long you want your washer to be. So at any length that you want the washer to be, I can just decide to say, okay, let's see, I want my washer to be a distance of maybe 20 to the left, 20 to the right, depending on you, right? So this is what I'm trying to say. Measure 20 here, and I will mark left and right. So depending on what you want to do, the length of it. So I'll just close here up. I'll also close here up. And I'm going to close here up too. But before that, and also here too. So that's where my washer will be. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is to construct the nuts. Are we good now? Let me enlarge it a little bit in order to what? To construct what? The nut. So to construct the nut, you need to multiply 0.8 times what? Times the diameter there, that is 16. Multiply 0.8 times the head here is 0.7, but for here will be what? 0.8. So if I multiply 0.8 multiply by 16, 0.8 times 16 to give me 12.8. So I'll pick my meter rule from the base here, from the washer, right? I'll measure 12.8. So this is 10, 11, 12.8 will be somewhere around here. That is where it's going to be. So I'll just take my set square and I'll draw a line that way, this way, right? I'll also draw another one this way. So what I'll do is, we're still using the same hexagon because both of them are both hexagonal, both are not, right? So what I'll just do the same procedure that I did earlier. I'm targeting from here to here and also from here to here. So I'll take my compass. What I did here, I'll do it here too. I'll place it at this point, at the center point, to the circle diameter here, which is this. If you trace it out, the second line, this is the first line, second line, this is the first line, right? And the second line here. So I'll take my compass to that point. You can see that. I'll take it to that point. And I'll draw a semicircle, faint line. You can see that. Then where the semicircle touch the center at this point, you see, just like I did here. Let me call this point P. Then I'll come at that same point with the same radius too at P. I'll draw another semicircle too. Right? So where it touches here, I'll call it P3. I'll call it to be P1. I'll call it to be what? P2. So with the help of my compass, I'll place it at P3, right? And I'll get it to be tangential to the surface of the washer here. Is that taken? And I'm going to look at this line, like this line here. So I'll draw the arc to touch it this way. Then I'll come to this point too, P2. I'll gauge it to touch the surface of the washer too here also. And I'll draw my line this way. Can you see that? I'll come here too. I'll do the same thing too to touch the surface of my washer this way. Can you see that? Now what I'm going to do is I'll take my set square, right? My 60-degree set square. Like I said earlier, I use this to draw this chamfer part. I'll come here also. I'll use the same thing to chamfer this to the other end here. I'll turn it. I'll do the other side too. Transfer it from here to this end here. Now, as I've done that, difference between the nut and the bolt is that for the nut, you do this in both sides, mirror image of both sides. So I'll come again, I'll do the same thing here. Since this is facing here, this here will come opposite of it. On this point, I'll draw another semicircle facing up. I'll gauge it first. Can you see that? There's the semicircle. And where it meets this point here, I'll draw another semicircle this way. They're almost the same thing here. So the P1 and the P2 and the P1, this P3 here. So I told the mirror image of each other. So if I place it at this point, P3, right, I'm going to take it to the thickness here I measured earlier, and I'm going to draw an arc tangential to it. Can you see that? Then I'll put that P2. I'll draw an arc tangential to the surface also, just like you can see here, just like what I did in the previous one. I'll come here to P1, I'll do the same thing. Can you see that? Now I will not take the same thing I did here to get this arc here. I'll do it also here, chamfer it. I'll turn it. I'll chamfer it also. Then I'll close it up. I'll close it up. I'll come here too. I'll close it up. I'll come here too. I'll close it up. I'll come here too. I'll close it up, and I'll just draw a line just like I did. So I'll just close this place up too. Can you see that? Now that is the knot. Now we're not done. The next thing we're going to do is to draw the thread length, right? Now there are some formulas for the thread length. Since the length of the knot of the bolt is given to be 120, right? It is not up to 125. Since it's not up to 125, we're going to use 2d plus 6. That is 2d plus what? Plus 6. So 2 times diameter plus what? Plus 6. And diameter is 16. So you multiply 2 by 16, you have 32. 32 plus 6 will be giving us what? 38. Right? It will be giving us what? 38. So from here, we're going to measure 38 from the base of the thread of the length here. I'm going to measure 38 upward. So this is 30. 38 will be somewhere around here. This 38 here, right? I will now draw my horizontal line on that point this way. So that will be the level of where my thread length will be. Now the next thing is this. Now where it touches here, this is the external one here, right? So I will take my 60-degree set square. From here, I'll draw an angle of 30 degrees to touch the body here. I'll turn it again. I'll do the same thing from here to touch the body here. So from that point, I can actually take it in, taking everything. From here, I'm going to take in this. And I'll stop here. Right, continue here. From here too, I'll do the same thing too. I'll stop here, continue here. Then the inward here, I'll do the same thing here. Stop here, I'll continue here. Then here too. Stop here. Then continue here. Then I'll use my close it up this way, right? So that will be the thread length. That is the length the thread will reach. This is how you show them when you're drawing. Then I'll need to take in my washer, right? I'll take in the washer from this point to this, and from this point to this. That is the washer there that we have, right? So the next thing I'll be doing here will be the nut have a clearance from what? From the component A and B. So it will be what you're going to do is to add the diameter plus 2 millimeter. And what is diameter? Diameter is what? Diameter is 16. So if you add it by 2, that will be 18. So simply what you just simply have to do here is to just measure 1 millimeter at both sides. So from here, this is 1 millimeter. You add 1 millimeter at both sides. From here also is another 1 millimeter. You can see that. And I will now thicken it to touch each side of it. So I'm going to thicken it to touch each side of it. From here, that is the clearance. And from here also, that is the clearance, right? So I can now easily draw my component I'm now taking the line of my component this way. From here, I'm taking this point from this point. And here too. Then this one too. And this too. Right? So I'm going to section it because we are told to draw the sectional view of it, right? So I'll use my 45 degrees set square to section it. So I can decide to say, okay, this should face here, one component. It should be evenly distributed. Then I'll come here too. Now allow this to face the other way around. Right? It should face the other way round. So if I come here, I can say, okay, U to U, U to U, U to U, to U. So this is what we have, right? So I will just show you some measurements you need to understand here. From here to here, some dimensioning. So I can just this is D. We know our D is equals to what? 16, right? D is 16. So this is what we actually have. And the distance between here and here, we know I've already explained that to you earlier. So if you have found this video helpful, please don't forget to comment, to like, share, subscribe, and also comment. Thanks for watching.